Namaste and welcome to Bhoom of Bharat with Rama Kumar, founder CEO SRK Game Changers, where we bring you a new update each week on global capability centers. A very happy new year to all our viewers. SRK Game Changers is a GCC consulting services organization providing advisory, governance, and setup services across talent, business operations, and workplace solutions. We deliver customized, high-performing global capability centers that encourages AI and digital innovation. We leverage the expansive skill talent pool and create new generation leaders. Our tailored workplace solutions build technology as a core foundation. Thank you so much for your encouraging remarks and for recognizing the distinctiveness of our podcast format and the themes we explore with our guests. Your feedback has reinforced our belief that these conversations are both timely and meaningful for the GCC ecosystem. So today, before we get into the podcast, there is a lot happening around Davos, the World Meta Davos 2026, searching for stability. What they found was uncertainty and a growing role for emerging powers like Bharat. So, today, in just a minute, I'm going to help you unpack the top insights from the World Economic Forum, the annual meeting which happened in Davos, where global leaders, CEOs, and policymakers came together under the theme A Spirit of Dialogue. What's coming from Davos is very clear, as global leaders at Davos were debating the future of innovation, resilience, and talent. India's GCCs are quietly become the execution ground and increasingly the design center for these ideas. The discussion points to three dominant themes: innovation, sovereignty. So, where innovation happens matters a lot, and today India is, global innovation background, not just a peripheral R&D arm. Resilient global market operating that we are talking about, these are not just optimizing for cost, you're designed for shock observation, speed, agility. You're also talking about distributed ownership of critical capabilities. And India GCCs are co-equal innovation hubs here. The talent re-architecture for AI-driven growth, innovation pods, podcast teams, and outcome ownership is where the talent is being, the companies which are coming to India, they are looking at in terms of how do we leverage the talent here. And we're going to talk about more in our podcast also. GCC, especially in India, sit right at the intersection of all the three. India now hosts global R&D centers for AI, semiconductor design, just to kind of name a few. Innovation charters are not just execution mandates, patent creation, IP ownership, and core architectures. So today's podcast theme: innovation engines in India, R&D strategy, technology, and talent for next generation GCCs, where we are going to explore with our guest Rama, how India's R&D capabilities and talent ecosystem are re-architecting for innovation and shaping the future of GCCs globally, in line with what world is saying for GCCs at Daewoo. Welcome, Rama, to our podcast, and it's lovely to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The pleasure is all mine. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Rama is a seasoned R&D and transformation leader with extensive experience building and scaling GCC. She has successfully built global innovation centers that have been strategic to companies' growth, combining strong engineering leadership with AI adoption and modern platform thinking. So, Rama, if I may request you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Sure. Once again, thank you so much for having me here. I look forward to a great discussion on this very near and dear topic to me, which is scaling centers in India and doing R&D from India. So my name is Rama Jayanti. I've been in the industry for 27 years, largely leading R&D organizations across the globe. I was in the US and last 2 decades have been in India, owned global teams and run innovation at scale and own products in India. So look forward to this interesting topic and discussion.
Thank you once again and welcome, Rama, to Bhoom of Bharat. And I see you have more than 2 decades of experience in setting up and scaling R&D centers globally. How has India evolved from a delivery hub to a core engine of product innovation and strategic decision making?
Yeah, so you're spot on. India has definitely evolved, and the verdict is clear. In my mind, the jury is out. India has moved and continues to move up the value chain. What I mean by that is, if you go back 2 decades, most organizations definitely were testing waters. And I'm not talking about big companies like Cisco and Google and Intel, who definitely had a much thought through vision and charter. But many other R&D product development companies were testing waters. They would do QA out of India, they would do some maintenance out of India. They would also do feature development. And there was a lot of delivery that was happening out of India. But the decision making was largely predominantly in the US or wherever the headquarters is. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be part of a company where decision making was in India, but those sort of companies were far and few. Fast forward today, I think what you can see is for many companies, it's not about should we be in India. The question that is sort of playing on everybody's mind is how do we make India an integral part of our growth story? How does it propel our growth engine? So I think that's a big shift and that's a big change. To me, a couple of factors. I know you've been asking how and how things have changed. I think what I want to sort of answer is what has led to this change. And to me, the things that have definitely propelled this change are there is talent, there's no question about it. We are a very populous country. We have lots of engineering colleges, so a lot of talent. But more importantly, it's also the maturity. Over 20 years, processes have matured, trust has been built, accountability has been proven, leaders have grown out of this whole journey. So we are battle tested in that sense. We also have a very stable geopolitical situation today compared to many other regions in the world. Government policies are also helping. The other thing that has changed quite significantly is the pace and scale at which, more than scale, the pace at which you need to do innovation is unprecedented. So if you don't leverage systems as a small ecosystems that can do innovation, you're going to lose the market. Companies are realizing that. So that's also helped in this whole journey. And India is definitely evolving to become a strategic growth engine rather than a pure delivery hub.
Yeah, if you also look at that, do you also see that the outcomes being changing here? How do you see this outcome changing from being cost effectiveness to what you're talking about, P&L ownership, the IP?
Yeah. And I think before I answer the question of the impact on IP and stuff, you're absolutely right. Everybody is moving towards a more outcome based model. Delivery is also an outcome. Okay. So let's acknowledge and recognize that. However, today, the sort of outcomes people are looking at are the business outcome in the sense of the strategic outcomes as well. And in order for a company to have a center that can make a difference to strategy, one of the things that people have to focus on is the team composed effectively? Which means, do you have the right roles? Do you have the right leaders? Do you have the right training? And have you equipped them with the right tools? And have you provided them the safety net to fail and recover from that failure? I think once this is in place, the rest of it follows to your point of the P&L and stuff. A team that is self evolving, that is autonomous, that can recover from failures, understands the company strategy, absolutely makes a difference to the top line, not just bottom line. Because they understand the customer, they understand the strategy, they are very good at defining how the product needs to evolve. Hence, they also start asking questions like, is it a build decision? Is it a buy decision? Which is where the M&A sort of story starts to play
Yeah.
out. And because they are looking at meeting the market needs quickly, they're also asking questions like, do I need a platform? Do I need to do tooling that's going to make all of this away from toil and make it more scalable? So I think the team sort of becomes a self perpetuating growth engine, an innovation hub, and sort of propels the entire company strategy.
How do you see, after all the discussions you also hear about AVUs, how do you see India as being positioned to become an R&D hub?
I think India is already an R&D hub.
Yeah.
Having said that, it's true that we didn't start off as being an R&D hub. For most part, over the last couple of decades, companies have come, they started more as shared services business, then small captives, then got into R&D and technology centers. I think this is only going to scale up. We already have more than 2,000 odd GCCs which I think we should now call them as GICs, which is Global Innovation Centers. We moved up from global captive centers to capability centers, and I think we are at that juncture of being a innovation center, and many companies are already doing that. So I think this story is only going to boom.
In fact, yesterday I was trying and talking to, one of my, I would say, the mentors, and the discussion was happening around, and he's like ex partner for Accenture, and the discussion was happening. Do you think there is a hunger or need for the mid-sized companies or the nano companies that we are talking about? So, big companies all there, Fortune 500 company already there, they're reaping it. I think, and it's more about that. Do you want to kind of leverage India? Okay. And the story more I see that if you're not in India, you're losing something. So, what about the mid-sized companies? What's your view on, those?
I think I'll go back to the point I made earlier. We are a battle tested market. Market not in terms of selling products, market in terms of leveraging talent.
Hmm.
So people hear about it. There are enough sound bites, a lot of positive sound bites today. As a result, there are many companies, not just mid-sized startups, are thinking about setting up a small unit in India.
Hmm.
And startups, mid-sized companies, however, have to be far more deliberate because they don't have the luxury of multiple bets. So many mid-sized companies are definitely asking this question. Given the budget I have, what more can I get out of this budget? And where can I drive innovation? And what most of them have also figured is if you just make it an extended arm, you're not going to get what you're looking for because it's not the economies of scale they're looking for. They're looking for quick innovation. So most of the mid-sized companies I in fact feel are doing a better job. In fact, the last one I was heading, we deliberated on what can run out of India and we put our bets on it, which included rewriting some of our legacy systems, putting a roadmap strategy for that, making it all AI first. So I think mid-sized companies are going to get more benefit because with small talent pool, I mean with small number of people, fully autonomous, they would be able to drive far more innovation. If they get the structure of the org right, what is critical for them is getting the org structure defined well and identifying what should run out of India.
Any other example you want to kind of share from your experience in the mid-sized company successfully kind of already leveraging India as a kind of an R&D hub on both technologies like IoT, cloud, or
So, I mean, from my own experience, I mean, having been in a couple of product companies, there are people leveraging it for data because there are a lot of data companies. If you look at some of the data companies that have come over the last 10 years, they all have an R&D arm in India. If you look at mid-size or even smaller startups, there are many AI startups that have a team in India. So rather than naming them, if I look at the verticals, they're present everywhere.
No, no, thank you so much for this. And I think the related one would be, since we are talking about the mid-sized companies. So now looking at the leadership and a broad level, how are organizations measuring their success for an R&D enabled GCC? How are they balancing traditional KPIs like cost, delivery with innovation metrics like patents, product differentiation, and market impact?
In my mind, and I may be wrong, but to me, there's only one metric. How are you impacting the top line? The cost lever takes care of the bottom line, but really the equation now is what are you doing out of the center that is helping the company improve or increase its top line? Now, to improve the top line may require you to think about new product, adjacent markets, may need to also look at new lines of business. Those are the byproducts. But the singular metric is how is this team helping increase the top line, the ARR or revenue numbers?
Yeah, that's there. But at times, when you're talking about innovation, you feel see a lot of times what happens is the investment goes into R&D. Okay, and you may not see the immediate benefits of those companies like pharmaceutical companies like Novartis, where I worked. There's a lot which was going in terms of the R&D investment benefits. Companies like pharma will have a big life cycle also in terms of before the product hits the market. Do you see a change of the companies focus on some of these patents as well? Do you see that?
No, it's a great question, but the way I look at this is whatever metrics they were using to measure the efficacy or efficiency of R&D in their global teams, the same is applicable to India. There should be no difference. Because if they had one way of, if patent was the way to measure it before they had a center in India, then patents is the way they would use to measure it here. But what's more important is it's not just measuring patents. There are companies that have been in India for a long time. They do have patents, but if you look at the seat at the table, being able to influence roadmap, being able to make a difference to top line, that is still not at the maturity level it needs to be. So rather than measuring the patents as a metric, what is important is, are you making a difference? Are you shaping where the company is going? Are you making a difference to the top line? And the other things are more signals that support it.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, that's a good point. I think, Rama, you've been in Pune for quite long, and I came in, I would say just 2 years back, and I see a lot of change which is happening. And, before the recent elections which happened here, the MCD elections in Pune, PMP elections, I would say that the mandates which, the chief minister shared spoke about, GCCs and the kind of stuff related to GCCs is going to be there. They also rolled out a GCC policy. And in your views, I would like to certainly have your views around this.
So, Pune, it's true that we've had a lot of competition and we continue to have competition from Bangalore and Hyderabad. But as I alluded to earlier, state of Maharashtra has put a new GCC policy to attract investment. And it is in line with the Viksit Maharashtra vision that they have. So they're doing everything in their capacity to make it easy for companies to come in. Having said that, Pune, of course, has the benefit of having a lot of colleges here. Oxford of the East, you keep hearing that.
Yeah.
Also, I think what many people may not give Pune credit for is there are certain kind of companies that have been here for a very long time. Banking is one industry that's been here for a very long time. You have the BNY Mellon, you have Deutsche Bank, MasterCard. So there are many in that space. So that's, I think Pune is definitely becoming a go-to market when it comes to large banks and captives of that nature. You also have certain kind of product companies that have been here in especially industrial automation. You've had companies like PTC and there are many Autodesk and others that have existed in Pune for a very long time, and they also have certain kind of talents. There were other product lines also or industries that have been here, especially in the space of ERP and also procurement. There are many companies that have existed here. So I think Pune is definitely moving up the chain. There's a little bit work to be done on our road infrastructure, but when it comes to other aspects, talent, leadership, capability, and certain domains, there is a lot of maturity that can be easily tapped into and leveraged.
So I will say that the cities which are kind of developing, so we are talking about, that's a part of the smart cities and there. So some of these things in terms of adding new infrastructure are part and parcel of it. So I will like not to, digress the topic, but I stayed in London for more than 2 years, and I would say that over the weekend, some of the other place was kind of already, they will have strikes, all kind of it. So I said, I mean, I feel Pune is really going the way it should look at it. A lot of stuff that we are trying to kind of bring in, new industries are coming in. Our CM is also doing a lot around this, so certainly, and that's one of the reasons that I am here. For me, Pune is home now. I also want to bring in a point here, Rama. What about the talent? We spoke about talent in terms of it's going to be definitely now a different angle of talent is going to look at, especially for the R&D. So how do you see that?
See, talent is very contextual. It really depends on the sort of company, it depends on the sort of industry. So let me qualify that. If you look back 10 years ago or 15 years ago, a lot of managed services or underlying business infrastructure sort of teams were set up here. The sort of talent you needed then was different. Today, if you look at it, skill is one part of it. I mean, the coding language, etc., etc. But I think that can be learned. What is really needed from a talent point of view, in my mind, is people who can take decisions, who can shape and drive outcomes. And that's going to have a lot of weightage because the tools have become, especially with AI, there is so much tooling available that makes it easy to learn a new language, a new area. So I think even the talent lens is shifting a little. What is talent? What kind of, it's focused more on the skill part of it rather than the tech itself.
I think these days they're calling out re-architect talent, where you're talking about what requires for the innovation hub. Thank you so much for bringing your views around this. I think it'll be good to kind of also hear your views about the vision. If I look ahead in terms of we are talking about Viksit Bharat, and I want to kind of how would successful GCCs in late 2020, especially which are in the emerging tech domains.
I think it's a journey, right? So we started more as a country or where people would come to seek talent to augment their teams. Fast forward today, we are owning products, we are owning outcomes. And given the democratization of tools, especially with AI and infrastructure, here I'm talking infrastructure, which is accessible to everybody, including tier two. People sitting in small villages can also code now. Given that, given our demography, I think the innovation is just going to accelerate. And there's a lot that can be done from here. People are recognizing it. So I think this is just going to boom. Whether companies are going to set up large 10,000 people teams, that bit is unclear to me. Will they set up centers to drive new capabilities from their own business angle, or whether they will try and do research for other markets? That part is a given. I think that's going to happen. It's a scale that may vary because with AI, maybe that scale in itself may not be needed. Scale in terms of number of people.
Okay. So, anything you want to kind of share from your perspective on the vision that you see, as R&D labs contributing to the GCC's Viksit Bharat, we saying?
More than, okay, Viksit Bharat. See, if GCCs are set up here or global innovation centers are set up, I'm hoping we drop the word GCC and everybody just uses innovation centers. I think as companies come here, set up innovation centers, generate employment, they generate IP, they generate products. Those products can help not just global markets, they can also help local markets. And those can help overall development of the country. I mean, at a very broad sense, that's really how I would put it. I mean, I'm not the most expert in how all of this is going to help India in the big picture, but from an incremental perspective, there's a lot that can happen from India for this market and for the global market that will help the overall um, development of India.
So thank you so much for this. I think rightly said, it's going to benefit both in terms of, the companies coming from outside, India being a large population there, you could also use to sell your products, which, they can consume like, bigger company, like Amazon, Google, they are Cisco, SAP, they are doing this. So even the other mid-sized companies could, leverage India on that. That's a very good point that you brought about. So it's going to be, vice versa, both the things being used. So, on a rapid fire question, which I have for you, Rama, is that what do you is the India's, I would say, especially on the R&D side, what is the India's biggest underestimated R&D strength?
I think resilience and agility,
Okay. And one word to describe India's role in global innovation by 2030?
disruption.
Well, thank you so much. I think it was wonderful kind of, talking to you about this, Rama, in terms of how things have changed, evolved from being a cost centers to now being a, R&D hubs where the focus is, in terms of development. And also you're looking at in terms of, how co-creation can become a part of it, distributed talent that we are talking about, distributed leadership, I would say, that you spoke about. And you also spoke about in terms of, how the leadership is also kind of contributing and about the government policies which are there. I think one point which also you brought about, and it made us kind of also go back to the debut level initiative narrative that we're talking about, that really gave us a very good example, and it connects back to the debuts level narrative that with the on ground realities of India is already building the world's most generation of innovation led GCCs. And your point on talking about that we should talk about more about innovation hubs. That was a very good point. And thank you so much once again, Rama, for joining us today.
Thank you. Appreciated the dialogue and thank you for those questions. These are always good to sort of discuss and debate about. Once again, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Rama. And for the audience, thank you so much for tuning in to this special episode of Bhoom of Bharat. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights on the ideas and innovation shaping our world. If you have any thoughts or stories to share on this topic, we would love to hear from you. You could connect with me on LinkedIn, SRK Game Changers, or drop your questions on our website, srkgamechangers.com. Until next time, namaste from Bhoom of Bharat.